Of having Kyle Samani from Austin, Texas, the CEO of Pristene. He's going to discuss his experiences with his main product, I guess, which is Pristine, as well as some people that he's met, that he's helped introduce various applications at Brown University, as well as University of California at Irvine. Also, we have joining us Paul Sotek, who's running the conference up in Indianapolis, at which Kyle's going to speak. So welcome, gentlemen, and it's all yours, Kyle.
Hey, John, thanks so much for the very kind introduction and for just the opportunity to do the interview. I really appreciate it a lot. I don't want it to go on too long, but just to give folks a quick overview. So I started Pristine in May of 2013, focused on developing apps for glass, and we ended up kind of focusing on video and telemedicine, and so we've now built a pretty robust HIPAA-compliant video platform optimized for glass so that you can share what you're seeing, live and in first person from your glasses to other devices. So we now support iPhones, iPads, Androids, Macs, PCs. We also now support all third-party audio-video devices, so think digital stethoscopes, otoscopes, ophthalmoscopes, now any third-party scope that's got a Bluetooth connection or micro USB we can run through our platform through glass or through a Mac or PC. And so we're having a ton of fun. We're live at, as John very graciously mentioned, UC Irvine and Brown, and they're using us in a number of different ways. In Irvine, they're doing a lot of work in anesthesia, helping connect residents and CRNAs with anesthesiologists across operating rooms and even between surgery and other areas like the cath lab and the GI lab and other places. And they're also doing a lot of work in the med school. We're powering all of their video, live and recorded video work in the med school, which is really, really exciting. The Dr. Weichman there has been an awesome, awesome person to lead that. And at Brown, we've been working with Dr. Paul Porter and his team, and they've done a great job in kind of proving clinical viability for some pretty up-close and personal kind of diagnostics in terms of rashes and other medical disciplines as well. And they're going to be publishing papers pretty soon on their uses and the clinical findings and such. So it's really exciting to work with these guys. And we have 8 or so other clients now live that we're not quite yet at liberty to talk about, although we will be soon. So that's Pristine in a nutshell. Paul, please take it away on your end.
Paul, you got something to say?
I just wanted to, the reason I wanted to take a few minutes and thank you, Kyle, for agreeing to do the hangout tonight and describe your efforts as well as participate in the Watch conference. I think you're clearly the leader in the industry right now, and to have you as a partner in participating in this and hear your perspective is really truly an honor. And so on behalf of the Watch board, thanks for agreeing to do this. There's some really exciting stuff that I didn't even realize that you guys are quite that far along, to be quite honest with you, and congratulations.
Well, thank you. We couldn't have, Paul, really appreciate the kind words. We couldn't have done it without some of our investors, our employees. They've all sacrificed, and we've been very fortunate to have a number of lucky things just happen, and hopefully will keep happening to help us keep growing.
Well, I hope we can continue to use this platform to communicate, to get people like you on the screen, Kyle, to let us know what's going on, because as both you and Paul know, this is going to be a hugely dynamic field. The things are happening every day. With our medics out in San Francisco. You're familiar with that, Kyle, right?
Mm-hmm. And I speak with him. Actually, I emailed with Ian earlier today. Ian,
it seems to be applying. Google Glass seems to be applicable now to regular doctors in their office. And of course, as Paul will tell you, any doctor would love to have anything that cuts down the amount of administrative work. And then, Kyle, I'm sure you've been around. You should get an honorary degree, for God's sake. But you've been around doctors enough to know that paperwork and it's just hell, and it drives a lot of doctors out of practice. And anything like a Google Glass that can cut down on the administrative part of things. What do you say about that, Paul?
Well, I would agree. I think Kyle's probably heard that from lots of sources, and I think it's clearly probably. I don't want to speak for him, but I would guess that that's a direction that most people are working in with the cutting down on the paperwork. Clearly there's a definitive use for this in doctor-patient interaction and recording that for record in the medical record once you start doing that. And I know there was some fear of some of my colleagues and things, but I think it's quite the opposite. I think it's going to actually help us in the end, because a lot of times things get misread in the notes more often than not. And Kyle, you may be planning on addressing this a bit at the conference, and if you are, I guess one of the things that probably a lot of people are interested in is the process that, and feel free if you don't want to comment on it, that you went through with the HIPAA compliance. I think HIPAA compliance is a bit of an enigma to some degree, to say the least. There's not a real. It's not like you call up the agency and say, hey, what's A, B, C, and D do I need to do to get HIPAA compliance? At least the way I understand it. I'm pretty novice in it. I haven't pushed anything through HIPAA compliance, so everything we've been doing is under photography policy, not really transmitting health information like you're doing with the consults and things at Brown. What was that process like for you? Was that something, what makes it, I guess, in your mind, or in the official, how do you get official HIPAA compliance?
Sure. So firstly, what's in my mind doesn't really matter. What I think or don't think is pretty irrelevant as far as the HIPAA gods are concerned. HIPAA is a challenge, and there's obviously lots of aspects to it, and I won't go into too much, but I guess you could broadly look at what we've done in terms for HIPAA in kind of 4 different buckets. So the first bucket, and the easiest one, is Amazon. So we are hosted in Amazon Web Services. We do have a BAA in place with them, and
sure,
they're doing with kind of all the data center operations that we really don't have to. So that's step 1. That one's easy. Step
right.
2 then is kind of our internal administrative safeguard. So we work with a company called Accountable HQ. And all of our employees go through HIPAA compliance training. I am our HIPAA compliance officer, so we kind of do all that stuff. Again, pretty checkboxy. Step 3 and 4 then when things get more involved. So 3 is our app itself. So we guarantee that all of our communications are encrypted from end to end, 128-bit AES, and that means all of our signaling to help different devices find each other to connect. That includes all authentication mechanisms, and that includes the actual audio and video data itself, and any other text or associated data that goes through the platform. That's all encrypted, and we generate new session keys for every single user interaction. So that's kind of the next layer, and then that's as far as technically we would have to go to achieve HIPAA compliance. And then we go actually a couple steps beyond that. So one of the big challenges with Glass in particular is that out of the box, it's very, very easy to accidentally take a picture and upload it to Google Plus, or tweet it, or put it on Facebook, or do just about anything that you shouldn't do as far as HIPAA is concerned.
Right.
And so even though our software might be HIPAA compliant, if we sell 5,000 glasses, or for that matter 10 glasses into a hospital, and if employees accidentally use those glasses to violate HIPAA in a very public way, even though it's technically not our fault, we're going to be thrown out anyways. And so that's a risk we face as a business. And so we were very cognizant of that. And so we've done quite a bit of work in terms of reverse engineering the Glass operating system to strip out everything that's not everything that is Googly. So Gmail, Google Plus, Google Search, Google Maps, messaging, and the entire notion, in fact, of a Google account is removed from the device. So the only servers it communicates with are our servers. And so we guarantee that you can't inadvertently do something that would violate HIPAA. And so pretty much with the devices that we deploy, you can't violate HIPAA even if you wanted to.
Yeah,
right.
The medical term is idiot-proof.
You can call it idiot-proof. Some people don't like that term, but yes, you could definitely.
Yeah, well, you can't screw up eventually.
You can't, and as part of that, the reverse engineering we've done. So we guarantee some extra HIPAA stuff. We also actually improve the performance by removing a lot of background services that were eating CPU cycles, and we also remove the ability to, what I would say, is get lost. So because there are no other things you can do on the devices, it's very hard to get lost or get anywhere where you're confused, where there's only one thing you can do. So we accomplished a lot of goals by doing that.
Well, Paul, I don't know if you remember, Carl. Our first hangout.
Thanks for taking the time to get that.
Yeah, Kyle, you have some background. I think you talked about having a background actually in working for EMR company, which kind of gave you a little head start dealing with HIPAA. Didn't we talk about that? Something like that?
We may have. I mean, I was very fortunate that before starting Pristene, I worked at an EMR company. Spent a few years there in engineering, sales roles, and product management, and I was very blessed to have the opportunity for about the final year I was there to lead design and development of all the clinical applications to run a full hospital enterprise. So that means clinical charting for nurses and doctors and surgeons and folks. That includes pharmacy, lab, radiology, the ordering systems, EMR, MedRec, um, discharge, admit. So all of the core clinical functions for a hospital, I was responsible for, and I got the opportunity to learn an enormous amount about HIPAA and workflows and enterprise sales and deployments and developments and those
And
kinds of things.
that helped you getting Pristine through fairly quickly, correct? I think
So
we talked about that.
absolutely, in terms of raising funding, attracting employees, dealing with hospitals, they're always like, "Who are you, you idiot? Like Google Glass is stupid. Get out of here!" Right? They just want to know that you're, basically competent. There's a lot of Silicon Valley guys coming out being like, "Healthcare's broken. We're gonna fix healthcare. You idiots. You don't know how to be effective." Right?
Yeah.
And they kind of want to make sure that you know what you're talking about. So, I definitely my background helped with that.
Well,
Yeah, actually, I got the whole the meeting with the IU folks the other day, and got the oh well, the senior guys say this is just a fad, and this isn't going to help anything, and of course I disagree with that, but I think that you definitely have to deal with a lot of that, and I'm sure you've kind of dealt with some of that in
Yeah.
your implementation there, Kyle.
I mean, I would say the number one question we get is, "Oh my God, Google Glass HIPAA! Ah, the world is ending." That's
Right, that's gonna be great because I think it'd be great to have you here because Nick Terry is one of the law professors here, and I've been working on him with him. We wrote a paper on basically mobile healthcare and Google Glass and how the law applies to it, and it's submitted right now at JAMA, and we're trying to get it put through. But really, the reality of it is we're looking at all of these aspects. So it'd be great. He's going to give a hangout here with John as well as a talk at the conference on this to kind of hash that out. We put that number 2 right after Raphael on purpose because we figure everybody's pretty interested, and that's what they always ask me about too. And I say, well, we really haven't done anything that's terribly, we haven't really streamed any health information that's any different than me using a camera. You know what I mean at this point, and so we really haven't done any of that. It sounds like you guys have taken it to the next level, and you need that HIPAA compliance, to be able to send the stuff that you guys are sending.
Kyle, initially when you first started off, you mentioned that Irvine, you were doing some work with the cath lab. You're doing some Google Glass work with the cath lab over at Irvine?
we are officially our contract is with the Department of Anesthesia and Surgery,
Okay.
but the anesthesia residents and the CRNAs involved in anesthesia care also end up in the cath labs, and so our devices are being used in areas outside the OR, but the contract is technically with surgery and anesthesia.
Well, tomorrow night we're having Jordan Saperstein. He's an interventional cardiologist from, I think, Baltimore. He's going to talk about his work with Google Glass and interventional cardiology. So if you're around, take a look at it. But I guess he's had a little bit of experience with doing that stuff. And yeah,
I'll definitely watch it, John. I can't wait to see it.
yeah, it's not. Yeah, you won't be able to sleep, right? It's 9 o'clock tomorrow night Eastern time. So the anesthesia, I'm kind of curious about. Was it hard to kind of get into the anesthesia niche at Irvine? Was that a hard sell getting in there, or did Warren help you get in there?
Yeah. So the story with Irvine's a great one. We started. I guess it was probably May of last year. I started writing for a couple of health IT blogs, and a guy named Dr. Les Carson just emailed me off the internet. My picture right up at the bottom was me wearing Google Glass, and he was like, "That's interesting," and he had some ideas. And he emails me. He's like, "Kyle, you should come out to Irvine." And I was like, "Why?" And he's like, "We're interested in doing a pilot. This is really cool." And so I flew out to Irvine. I want to say it was June 2nd of last year. So a little over a year ago, and more than a year ago. And I met with them, and I was very fortunate that I can't believe it, but Dr. Garson pulled in the chairman of anesthesia, surgery, the CMO, and the CEO of the hospital. And I was, at the time, we didn't have I mean, I had a glass, but we didn't have an app that we had yet to hire our first employee. Like, that's how our first non-founding employee. And
he built the anesthesia app?
And so, I mean, he was just the one that got Irvine. We got, we were very fortunate to meet with the senior leadership team, and they're extremely progressive folks. And they said, Kyle, here's a letter of intent. Go do whatever you need to do. Get us software. We're going to do this.
Oh, wow.
And we said, okay, it's off to the races.
That's great.
So, I mean, honestly, it was dumb luck, and they've been nothing but supportive since then. And then through that process, we had a chance to meet Dr. Weichman at the med school, and who's helped lead all kinds of work at the med school as well.
Have you noticed the response?
Sorry, what was that, Paul?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm trying to get some feedback. I know. I was just asking if you noticed that you did the coast, like Boston area, and then obviously Silicon Valley area. This really seems like it's kind of us in Ohio State doing things here in the Midwest, and that's been minimal compared to the coast.
Paul, what happened?
Definitely. So our clients today are in Texas, Southern California, very soon Northern California, Chicago, Detroit, Florida, Rhode Island, Boston. I think that's where all of and Arizona. So we have clients now, and I guess about, what is that, 9 states, 8 or 9 states, something like that.
Sure.
So I wouldn't say there's any one geography that's
it's kind of taken it.
Yeah, it's been all over.
Well, the demand for apps are going to go through the roof. In all areas. Medicine. Kyle, one quick question. In Brown, can they use that app for problems in the ER, or can they use it for all kinds of problems?
So there's no technical reason why they can't use it beyond derm, and they are now expanding beyond derm, but they intentionally kept the focus very limited at first, so that they could really A, get a published paper out, and B, prove. They actually set a pretty high bar in terms of clinical necessity. So if you're going to assess for rash, you usually need pretty good video quality, and so they set a pretty high bar with us in terms of getting good video in and out of the system. And so they wanted to kind of use that as the benchmark and say, look, guys, if you can do it for derm, you can do it for anything else. Yeah, so we're now exploring other clinical lines.
Yeah, they're going to be here. Dr. Wu. And the other gentleman.
Yep, Dr. Roger Wu, awesome guy. I love Roger.
Yeah, Roger and Associated Crime.
It's probably Dr. Peter Chai. Yep.
Yeah, he's going to come too.
Great. Looking forward to seeing him there.
Next Tuesday. No, I don't think they're coming to the conference, but they'll be at the for the conference. Maybe they'll come. Question for Kyle?
Sorry, I was muting myself. I thought maybe I was
the bird.
No, I just like I said, thanks a lot, and all of us really appreciated your support in this endeavor to kind of get everybody together and really hash out what's going on in medicine class right now, and really just innovate on this platform and push it. I know I'm going to be excited to actually see a demo of the Eyesight software, the cadaver dissection just talking about. So it's going to be really cool. Hopefully, you're still interested in doing that.
Okay, looking forward to it. It'll be a ton of fun. I think everyone there should get to see Eyesight. So.
Yeah, you should.
Sorry, what was that, John?
You should meet some good people there.
I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a great conference.
Yeah, well, we hopefully will bring some doctors too, remotely, and maybe you can interact with them. But we appreciate the time out tonight on the busy schedule. and I look forward to seeing you. Anything in closing, Paul? Hello, Paul. You playing the birds again?
John, I think you're back on yourself, to be honest.
Okay.
I can't hear you.
Gentlemen, hey, thanks so much. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Take care, Kyle.